Okay, so today I want to talk about high-end products that are in my collection that I think are worth the money, and if I were to ever run out of them, I would definitely repurchase them. These are all items that I would want to have in my collection that don't have any other like drugstore dupe or any other equivalent that's maybe high-end or even luxury. Some of these items are more luxury than they are high-end, but it's a combination or a mixture of both. So this was not a difficult video for me to put together. I really just opened all of my drawers and grabbed the things that I knew were more high-end or luxury items that I reach for, one, on an everyday basis, and two, that if I ran out of them, I would definitely repurchase them. So I do wear a lot of different types of makeup, and I try a lot of different types, both high-end and drugstore. So there's a lot of things that I don't get to use as much as I would like to because I am trying to test things out. I mean, mostly just for me and for fun, but then I don't get to wear these items as much as I like. So I'm gonna go in order how I would apply them on my face and kind of show you a cutaway of me putting them on. So the first item is Saie Beauty's Glowy Super Gel in the shade Starglow. I think this comes in two different shades. So this is probably marketed as kind of a glowy highlighter, but I like to use this mixing this in with my foundation. I find that when I'm working with a foundation that has more of a matte finish or is a more full coverage foundation, this gives it a really good glow, and it actually makes the foundation sit a little bit better on my skin as opposed to kind of caking up and breaking up on my face throughout the day. So this is fantastic. I love this product. I purchased this for a highlighter, but then when I realized that it was kind of light for a highlighter, and I'm not a huge fan of like pump liquid highlighters. Some of them are okay, as you'll see. I'll talk about one later, but I really loved this to mix this in with my foundation. It's great. I haven't been able to put it down, and I have products in my collection that do very similar things. They are very glowy. They're meant to be like primers, and I just don't like them as much as I like this because I just feel like this performs well. It is mixed with every foundation that I put it with extremely well. Next up for base products is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Foundation. So this is one of a kind to me. There are a lot of foundations that are full coverage, but a lot of them break apart and they wear worse throughout the day after I apply them. They just sit, they look cakey, they don't absorb into the skin. I don't know, something about this particular foundation really wears well throughout the day. It breaks down extremely nice. It's like it meshes with the skin. Even though this is full coverage, when I pair it with something like the Saie Glowy Super Gel, I don't know, it just gives it such a nice finish. It doesn't look as heavy on the skin. It's not as heavy as some other full coverage foundations. It's just one that I haven't found a replacement for, so I will always keep this in my collection. When I run out of this, I will purchase another just so that I have it on hand for the days that I want something that's more full coverage. Next, I have the Givenchy. This is the Prisme Libre Skin Caring Glow Foundation. It is more medium to full coverage, and this is the glow version of this particular foundation. And why this is so different is because even though it's more medium to full coverage, it isn't that matte finish. It definitely has a glowy finish to the skin. It is just a really good overall foundation that doesn't sink into my fine lines even as much as the Estee Lauder. It is a lighter weight formula, but still having medium coverage. So even though this is a pricier item, I have grown completely in love with this foundation, and when I run out of it, I'm very likely to repurchase this item. Next up is concealer. So this is LAWLESS's Conceal the Deal Full Coverage Concealer. So when it comes to concealers, I don't like something full coverage. I prefer something more medium to light coverage. I don't necessarily have a lot of creases under my eyes, but I definitely find with my dry skin that it breaks apart pretty easily under my eyes with a full coverage concealer. But this one, even though it is full coverage, I found that this is one that doesn't crease under my eyes. It doesn't break apart. It doesn't look super cakey. It meshes with every foundation that I pair it with. It was just a really good concealer. I was honestly surprised. I didn't see any particular reviews on this product before I purchased it, but when it comes to full coverage, if it's going to be a concealer that I use for full coverage days, it's going to be LAWLESS. So this is something I will definitely continue to repurchase. I haven't found anything else that's full coverage that performs quite like this one. So next, moving on to setting powders, I have two powders. The first here is the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Flawless Finish. I have mine in the shade 1 Fair. And with all of the products that I mentioned today, I'm gonna list like the shade that I have for each of these items in the description box. So this particular powder is so finely milled that it is really good for like dry skinned people. It's just so velvety and airbrushed that it's perfect for setting your makeup, but it provides a little bit of coverage, so you could technically wear this if you weren't wearing any makeup at all. Maybe you just threw on a little bit of concealer for the day and you kind of wanted to set it down, you could use this. I really have seen finely milled products, and I have others in my collection, but none do what this says, which is the airbrushed finish. It really, really does give that airbrushed look that none of my other powders in my collection do. You definitely can hit pan pretty quickly because it is so finely milled, and I have, but it's mostly because I reach for this product so much. So this is one that when I run out, I will repurchase it. The next one that I have is the Dior. This is the Backstage Face and Body Powder No Powder. So this product is so unique. It is definitely a baked formula. I do have mine in the shade 2N Neutral because it does actually provide some coverage. It can actually perfect a lot of foundations. So when something is looking maybe a little bit dry or isn't giving you enough coverage, you can use this particular product and it actually makes the foundation look a little bit better. It's just such a unique consistency. This is definitely my favorite Dior product. So again, when I run out, gonna repurchase this for sure. Always want this on hand. So for brows, I have from Benefit the Precisely My Brow Pencil. So I'm pretty picky when it comes to brow pencils. I don't really like a flick. I would prefer a pencil product. I would prefer not to use kind of a liquid product. This is really just a tremendous pencil. It's waterproof, it's very thin, it gives you a precise line, but it's easy to use. It definitely, if you make a mistake, you can wipe it up pretty quickly. So it's kind of a foolproof product in my opinion. It just performs extremely well. It just allows you to define it, but then give you a really precise like flick if you're trying to do a more fanned in look at the front part of your brows. So this is just fantastic. I have repurchased this many times and I will continue to. It is absolutely my #1 favorite brow product over any other eyebrow product that I've tried. The next product I have is the Charlotte Tilbury Contour Wand. So I did a cream bronzer ranking in a couple of videos ago, and this I will use as both like a contour and a bronzer because I think it's just that kind of unique hybrid product. I really have nothing like this tone or consistency or application in my collection. I have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury products that really rank as kind of like my #1 in terms of luxury products. I think she just does a really good job with making high-end quality, unique things in terms of base products. I'm just a huge fan. And this one is just, it's so easy to apply. It's so easy to blend out. It looks really good on the skin. I don't have anything else like this. I have a few other contours in my collection, but this one stands out. It is just one that I'm always gonna want on hand as an option. So definitely when I run out of this product, I will repurchase it. Okay, so next for blush, and I have a lot of blushes in my collection. I have a lot of variety of blushes in my collection, but there is just one that really stands out to me and always has. And when I'm thinking of a no hassle blush that has a lot of pigment but is very buildable that I know can stay on my face all day, and that's a lot of times what I'm looking for. So if I'm gonna apply a blush and I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna touch my face a lot, I'm gonna want something, if it's a powder product, I'm gonna want something that's really gonna stay a while. So something that's pigmented and buildable really grabs my attention. This is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Blush, and this is in the shade Mood Exposure. So this blush here is probably darker than I would have normally purchased, but I don't think it's too dark. I think it's a perfect mauve tone with kind of like purple undertones to it. It is really just the all around like blendable, buildable formula, has really good pigmentation and creates a nice sheen to the skin. I really don't have anything else like this in my collection. Even some of my other blushes, both high-end and drugstore, that are very pigmented and blendable, don't last as long as the Hourglass blush. So So I have two highlighters here, but the first one is a powder, and it is the Bobbi Brown highlighting powder in the shade Pink Glow. So I had my eye on this one for a really long time. I just thought it was so beautiful and I wanted to get it, but I really didn't want to spend the $50 that this costs. And then one day I took my son to Ulta and this one was on display and my son pointed to it and he said, "Hey mom, you should get that one." And when I realized what it was, I go, okay, this is a sign, like I have to get it. So I did pick this up and I wasn't disappointed. This became immediately one of my favorite highlighters in my entire collection. This just gives such an awesome glow to the face. It is a super long-lasting highlighter. The formula is just fantastic and buttery because it is that baked formula. This particular shade is just fantastic on me. It just lasts a super long time. I'll look in the mirror later and go, wow, it is still on and it's still kicking. Like, it's a really good one. So it's a favorite for me in my entire collection, not just in the high end. So I want to get my hands on the other peach shade that just came out, but I think I'll always want to have one of these in my collection. It's honestly my favorite highlighter. The next one that I have is another Charlotte Tilbury product. This is the Hollywood Flawless Filter. This is the mini. This is such a unique product. Now, I know that I showed the Saie Glowy Super Gel, but it's just different. I know that these are meant to be very similar in that they're meant to be like a highlighter slash, can be used to give you that glow under your foundation. I use this for both, but I honestly prefer it for a more natural highlighter look on top of foundation. This is just a very unique product in its consistency. The color, I have mine in the shade Too Fair. The color is just fantastic. It's just an overall really quality product that just gives a very natural finish to the skin. I don't have anything else like this, and honestly these little sizes here are perfect for me. So when I run out of this, I will repurchase it in the small size. It's honestly a staple product. Next, I have from mascara, I have the Lash Idole from Lancome. So I'm a huge fan of this. One of my preferences for mascaras is that it's very pigmented, it's a more wet formula, but it actually doesn't provide as much volume as it does length. And when it applies, it doesn't apply clumpy. And even though it's a wet formula, it dries down quick enough that it doesn't transfer on my lids. So this one does that. I don't have anything else in my collection that does exactly that. I have things that come very close, that are a wet formula, that are more lengthening than they are voluminous. But this one is the cleanest one that I have. It is just a really sophisticated look and formula for me, and this isn't my first time repurchasing it. I think that this is probably my third. The first one that I had was in the mini size. So I will continue to repurchase this. I don't have anything else, either high-end or drugstore in my collection that performs like this. I love this. Next, for lip products, and this might seem a little silly, but for me, it really isn't. This is the Kat Von D. This is the Everlasting Liquid Lipstick. My preferences are that I get a more matte finish because I want something that's gonna last a little bit longer because I don't wanna keep reapplying it, but I want something that's not gonna emphasize my lip lines. I'm gonna want something that isn't too sticky when it dries down, and that it dries down pretty quickly, and that it comes in a good shade. And these Everlasting Liquid Lipsticks, I immediately fell in love with them. I do have them in 3 shades. This one's in Lovecraft, but I love these. I don't feel that when I apply it, and you'll see it in the video, that it becomes sticky at all. It dries down almost instantly, but it stays all day. I don't have to reapply it. I don't have to worry about it breaking down funny. It's the only liquid lipstick in my collection that performs this way, both in drugstore and high-end. So I would repurchase this. I did go back and purchase 2 more shades after this because I loved the formula so much. So this is a really good one for me. And finally, for setting sprays, this is another one from Charlotte Tilbury. This is the Airbrush Flawless Setting Spray. So I have tried a lot of setting sprays. I'm not a huge setting spray fan. I don't wear it on an everyday basis. I don't feel that I need to. I sometimes don't even feel like they work well enough to have done anything. But with the Charlotte Tilbury one, I actually feel like this isn't too heavy on the skin. I actually do feel that it sets my makeup down. It doesn't make it tacky. It just feels really good on the skin, and it makes it last. It's one that I find an actual noticeable difference in the lasting power of my makeup, and no other setting spray does that, neither high-end nor drugstore. I know I've said that, but these are products that I wasn't just specifically looking for high-end. Some of them are actually my favorites in my entire collection, so that's a good one. So that is it for today. These are my top high-end products, pretty much from every category. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope that you hit that like button, consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.